I think for anybody, and I know for myself as commissioner, that we need the community's involvement. So everybody came from someplace, everybody will go back to someplace, and we need your support to support them in that transition. Both transition in, and then how do we transition them back to the community. So didn't want to spend a lot of time in just general comments today. It's been more important that we have some dialogue and have questions about anything you have on your mind today. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for coming out. Let me say good morning to everyone who came out on this very cold morning to be with us here today. We're going to move right in, but before we do so, I think it would be appropriate to open up with a word of prayer. We have prayer ready? Very good, very good. So at this time, we're going to attempt to engage in a discussion. We don't have a lot of time, but I just want to put it in context. This is a continuing conversation. We've been having conversations with the commissioner over the past couple of months, not only the Commissioner of Corrections, but also the Commissioner of the New York Police Department, as well as other commissioners in various disciplines, because this is a comprehensive challenge that we face. When we're addressing the needs of people in communities, particularly poor communities and Black and brown communities, we have to deal with the full complexity of issues that arise. So this is not exclusive to corrections, although today we want to talk about how corrections plays its role in this overall process of community healing. We just want you to know that it's far more comprehensive than just what's happening with corrections, that there are many folks at the table. Commissioner Aponte, from the very beginning, has been very open and honest, and I really have an appreciation for that. We were able to talk very frankly from the very beginning about the issues, about the challenges, and I think that he was very forthcoming with his perspective and his insight on it, and it opened up an opportunity for us to have real meaningful dialogue. And so on that note, I'm gonna go ladies first. I'm gonna allow you to ask the first question, and then I will follow behind you.
Ooh. I think that mic works, you just gotta turn it on, that other mic is.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. I think some of the questions that have come to us, Commissioner, has been about the visiting process, and as it relates to the length of time it takes for family to see their loved ones, and the amount of security that they have to go through to see their loved ones. Can we talk and have discussion around that? Because that is a concern for many of our constituents.
Sure, so it's a problem. It's been historically an issue on Rikers Island. It's the whole issue, it's an island. So in most prisons and jails across the country, you go to a single facility. When you go to Rikers Island, you could go to any one of the facilities on the island. So we've worked in the last 6 months now. Jeff's led a committee of community people, both visitors and anyone who was interested, to look at how do we expedite the process of people visiting Rikers Island. How do we help them in that process? How do we expedite the way in and way out and make it as friendly as we possibly can, while also continuing to have a level of security that's appropriate for our jails. So we've actually have a pretty well-developed plan that you'll see rolling out in the next several months. Part of that was redesigning the flow of staff, of people coming into visitation, so our communities coming in to visit, excluding those who were not coming in to visit, meaning if they're coming in to pay bail, drop packages off. For anybody who's visited us, you would know that you would stand in the same line, wait just as long to pay bail or drop money or drop packages. So we're setting up a process now where there will be no lines for that at all. We will expedite our visiting. We'll have staff and volunteers in the lobby to help people figure out how to get in and out and how to expedite the process. And we'll be also looking and exploring in the next month or two video visitation as an option. So if there's somebody you want to have a conversation with, have a quick chat, video visitation would be a good option. So we're not, just to allay fears, we're not substituting contact visits for video visitation, but as a quick alternative, many times just to have a conversation. For anybody who doesn't know, we turn over half our population in 7 days, so about 5,000 inmates go through the system and back out to the community every 7 days. So it's the longer stays that really, that community has a concern. So inmates are going to be incarcerated for a period of time, family want to have contact and visitation. So the process today is not anywhere near good. And you know, people are spending, community people are spending hours in the day for a 1 hour visit. So we're also going to explore the possibility of expanding visiting hours and just less frequency, which will help everybody. It's a process, I think it's very open. We encourage anyone to offer their thoughts and opinions on that. I know we can make it better. We have some things in place that I think will help, but it's an ongoing process. So we're open to that anytime anybody wants to be part of that process. Jeff's over here, he's leading that committee, and we encourage you to participate.
Okay, when we talk about part of the process, we also know that there are several levels of security that they have to go through. Is there going to be any changes to that? You know, what is it that they have to go through, about 5, 6 contact sub-searches before? Is there anything different with that, or is there a reason why they go through that currently?
It is unusual to have the multi-layers of searches. It would be our hope is we get better equipment to limit that. It is an equipment issue for us. So we know anybody who's been through the airport, there's good mechanisms that's going to do a very good search and pretty quickly. So we're looking at possibly getting equipment in place to limit that process. So also having walkers out front. So anybody who's visited the island, you're going to go through that first checkpoint with most of your property because you have to carry it to the facility. So the idea would have sufficient lockers, so when you go through that first checkpoint, you basically have everything you would get into the jail. So it's not and that's one of the reasons that it's multiple check. We don't have enough lockers in the front to accommodate. So that's part of the thought process is having one good check and then bringing somebody to the facility for visitation.
Yes, and I neglected to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Divine Pryor, and I'm the chair of the New York City Criminal Justice Clergy Task Force. What I wanted to have a discussion with you about, commissioners, how we can, the community, can assist you in changing and transforming the culture that we know exists on Rikers to make it more community friendly, to make it more family friendly. What efforts are taking place on your side that are supporting whatever strategies are necessary to begin to start changing the culture and the way community and corrections work collaboratively?
Well, for me, it's really opening up the process for everybody, having everyone at the table. As we worked with young adults and adolescent inmates for the last almost 2 years now, we have a substantial collaboration of a group that probably started off with 20 members, now it's 40 plus members, with many people from the community, many advocacy groups sitting at the table, having input as to what's going on, not getting a policy to comment on, but actually in the room developing the policy. So every step of the way, as anyone in this room has an interest to make our agency and our city better, we welcome you to the table in that process.
And another follow-up question to that, how are you communicating these changes to the public? Is there a mechanism in place? Because there are a lot of questions coming out of the community, and we would like to know if there's some way that regular communication on the progress that's taking place on Rikers Island could be communicated.
So I would say we probably don't have a formal process on how we do that, but Peter Thorne's here somewhere, who will be the lead on how you would like to see that happen, okay. and make sure that we have that communication pieces put in place.
Very good. Reverend Q?
Okay, so the other part of the visitation that came as far as the actual improving the actual visiting rooms more normalized, humanized, friendly environment, creating a visitation center. Because right now, it is capped at, as we know. Are there any plans to create that type of environment as well?
So we have plans to clean up and improve our visiting space. It's kind of a big question. So I think anything we can do to normalize that time with families and friends, we're all better off. So we, again, would ask for any suggestions or input that you'd like to see in place. Some visiting spaces, as you may know, are better than others. Some are pretty bleak. So I think any suggestions anyone has, we're in the process of renovating some of our children's space and how do we utilize that space, but anything that you have on suggestions that how to make it better, we'd be interested.
Okay, so I think what we're hearing, everyone, is that if there are suggestions, there are things that you feel that you want to contribute to the conversation and to the next stage of Rikers Island, then you have people here that you need to connect with and get at the table with them. I'm gonna have my Pastor Mutu, who also is part of the task force, to stand and ask this question that he had prepared.
Good morning here. First, let me say thank you for you even just saying that we, know that there are some problems. I think part of the issue that we deal with is when we bring these issues up, instead of getting the admittance that yes, there are some issues and we need to work stuff out, the response that we have traditionally gotten is we're doing the best we can. And as a community, I think we all know that things need to be better. One of the things that we discussed in our conference call last night that you brought up, and I'm so glad you did, is the issue around not having the proper equipment, not having the money in the budget to be able to purchase those pieces that you would need to streamline the process. We want you to know that we're also here to help. We are political advocates, and if money needs to be spent in a different way, we want to be the one to knock on the door of our local politicians and the state government and say, hey, listen, we can do something, here are the problems. But that open line of communication, so I'm very much looking forward to sitting with your staff to be able to talk about that, because I think that we can really help the situation. One of the questions.
I think it gets very powerful when we're all on the same sheet asking for the same thing. So as you guys are pushing issues and helping us, we also have our agency pushing the same issues.
Absolutely, absolutely. The teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. One of the issues that we also talked about was the dehumanizing effect that the visitation process has on the visitor by way of two things. One is the way the visiting area looks. I went a visit one time to visit a parishioner, and I went to use the restroom, and I refused. It's made to look like the visitor is going to prison and not going to a visit. And so that dehumanizing effect, particularly on a young child who's going in to see a parent or a family member they haven't seen in a long time, instead of that visit creating the type of bond that would make the prisoner easier to contain, it makes it worse. The second part of that is the interaction with the officers. When the officers deal with the visitors as if they are criminals rather than visitors. And when you get that, what you have is a situation that has nothing in it but tension. And it makes the visitation process very, very dehumanizing. And it's an issue that we absolutely have to address. So I would like to have your feedback on that.
So we've already talked about the physical layout of visiting rooms. We seek your input on that. It'd be nice to design something that everyone agrees this is a more appropriate, both from what we think it should look like, and from security side with the security needs in place to make